Alright everyone, now it's time for a very important video on jury nullification. I have spoken about it before, but in the context of all of the blatantly unconstitutional anti-gun proposals being currently made, most of which are DOA, I can get into that a little bit, it is time to refresh people's memories about the existence of jury nullification. By the way, there is a U.S. political party openly catering awareness of it. It happens to be the Libertarian Party, now under new management, embracing the Free State movement, for example. That was something that was being shunned by the Jorgensen and Johnson people. So I've subscribed to their page again after, I think, unsubscribing several years ago, because now what they're saying actually makes sense and isn't a pile of Clinton-esque knockoff horseshit. Anyway, here's the thing. When you have unconstitutional laws, that is, laws that are not legal, but they're not recognized as such currently by the judiciary, and oftentimes, retroactively they are, and you end up having to go through the process of getting people released from prison sentences for things that are no longer criminal or for which they clearly were innocent of in the first place. When that happens, the best way to respond is jury nullification. Now, don't tell anyone that you know about it if you intend to use it. If you do tell other people, I guess you can get out of jury duty, but, you know, I've sort of crossed the Rubicon on that. If I get called up for jury duty, they're going to find out that I know of jury nullification, and if they're not notified of that, you can actually get in trouble. So, passively imbibe it. Make sure not to leave an electronic footprint of your awareness of the concept. Make sure to scrub your search terms. Make sure to scrub your viewing history after watching this video so that they can't nail you on any charges. It'd be funny if then that charge was nullified. It's always possible. Jury nullification is the idea if there's at least one person on the jury. I have to be long-suffering and patient to do this potentially. Sometimes it's all the jurors, or at least enough of them to convince the others to go along with it. They recognize that the charges that have been brought against the defendant are horseshit. That is, the person had a 30-round magazine, and the state law says you can't do that, it's high-capacity baby killer, and it's wrong. But they think that 30-round magazines shouldn't be illegal. They think the state law itself is countermanded by the Second Amendment, and so they hold it null and void. So they simply refuse to convict. Now, you can have positive evidence of that person clearly possessing the magazine. Well, here's the footage. The cops go in. He's literally affixing it to his weapon right now to go to the range. He's got a whole stack of these high-capacity magazines. He's got a 50-round drum, and he's got, 10,000 round per minute guns everywhere. And he's a scary person. We need to lock him up because clearly he should be a felon and lose the ability to vote because he violated an unconstitutional law. And so one or more jurors simply refuse to convict. When they're in the jury room, they don't mention jury nullification. They don't tell anybody that they know about that. They simply say, hey, I don't believe that he's guilty of this. And the other jurors at first say, what are you talking about? There's video footage of him holding it. Well, you've got to use a little bit of reason here. Well, maybe they weren't actually his. Maybe the person says we've got to find him not guilty because there was prosecutorial overreach. Maybe because there was police misconduct. Find an excuse and attempt to persuade the other jurors. In some cases, you'll have a whole-ass jury do this. This was, by the way, successfully used to destroy Prohibition. Prohibition was not destroyed by speakeasies. It wasn't destroyed by the mafia that wanted it to continue because it was very lucrative. Bonnie and Clyde and all of these other people did not destroy Prohibition. Ultimately, it was destroyed by jury nullification. People got tired of the village drunk getting repeatedly prosecutorially harassed. They got tired of the local mafia don being treated like a criminal when the only crime that he was really interested in was booze. They got tired of the soaring alcoholism rates. Of course, prohibition of guns would end up the same way. You would have soaring gun crime because, of course, gang members would still be armed. Terrorists would still be armed. The cops that the left keeps telling me are all racist, evil assholes, they would still be armed. In fact, they'd probably be more armed. It's everyone else that would be disarmed. With Prohibition, it got to a point where it was something like, it was 40-50% of all cases were getting acquitted by the juries, or they were getting hung, and then after a while you can't really continue to proceed with a case if the jury gets hung several times in a row. It becomes untenable. You're paying a lot of money, it's taking up a lot of court time, people start protesting, and you say, fuck it. Go away, prosecutor, leave him alone. Even in cases where there was absolute, undeniable proof of the fact that there was moonshining or bootlegging or something going on, that the person clearly was distilling alcohol. There are 15 witnesses that the state called forward, all in a crowd that said, look, he was at the distillery, he was literally making it, he was literally drinking it, he was literally selling it on site. We're all signing on to this. The cops show up and they find him loading 1,000 gallons of booze into the back of a hay truck or something. It's clear that he's guilty, but the people didn't feel that alcohol should be prohibited. Half the population wanted to drink, and so they nullified it. Eventually, this forced a reversal, a new amendment striking out prohibition. And the same could happen for guns. The majority of the U.S. public does not want guns banned. The vast majority of the U.S. public stand against most of the proposals that are being currently pushed forward. There was a bill, or a suggested bill rather, pushed forward by one of the Democrats in the House the other day to tax sporting rifles at 1,000% to try to price poor and middle-class people out of owning an AR-15. That the irony is that the rich would still have them. They'd still be legal. They'd just cost more. Very interesting. Pandering a little bit to his rich constituents. I'm sure that the donations are mainly coming from the Soros types. Let's just put it that way. George Soros has armed guards, though. He doesn't need an AR-15 because everyone else around him has firepower. He's basically got his miniature police at his disposal, so he's totally unconcerned. The lifestyles of the rich and corrupt and perverted. But we can do this with guns as well. So you can get out of jury duty if you just want to blow it off and be lazy, or you can attempt to make positive change. I would say to do this for the drug war as well. If someone is brought up on drug charges and you're on the jury, and they have done nothing legitimately wrong, so possession, they're growing a couple weed plants, they dealt a little bit of coke to a friend or something, they're not harming anyone, it's all above board, there's no kids involved, it's not DUI or something, they didn't attack someone while high, I would say to nullify the verdict. Simply make up some sort of excuse. Well, no, I don't think it was his coke. I think the police planted it on him. Oh, he admitted that it was his coke? That doesn't matter. He was probably coerced. Maybe they tortured him. Who knows what happened in the prosecutor's office? There's a million excuses that you can make up. I'm sure that some of you are quite creative. I'm sure that you can find a reason. At the end of it, you could just plant your feet and say, look, I'm just not finding him guilty. I don't think he's guilty, without further ado. And in some cases, you're allowed to tell, by the way, the jury about nullification. I think the only state in which it's explicitly legal to inform them of their right to nullify is New Hampshire. Another tie-in to the Libertarian Party and the Free State Movement. By the way, definitely a state to consider moving to. Plenty of land available. Some of it's fairly cheap, actually. By the way, the western side of the state, it's basically like Vermont with more guns. So, yeah, it's sounding pretty good sometimes. Still get the shitty New England winters, but you know you can maintain your enormous gun stockpile all winter. It'll take you all winter to oil them all up and make sure they're working. Maybe. Really, though, unconstitutional gun and drug charges. That is, the gun charge is related to the gun had the wrong attachment, the wrong magazine. You discharged it too quickly. Someone thought it was an auto or something. Drug laws, again, there's no victim except maybe the person taking the drugs. They should all be nullified. Let's kill two birds with one stone. Get rid of the drug war. And I don't mean the lame-ass would-be post-hippie-trippy leftoid thing of, well, we want to be able to smoke weed. Well, medical marijuana. Fuck weed. There's way better drugs than that. You know, so all of the psychedelics and so forth. They should all be legal. They're not harming anyone. Person on shrooms is crazy if they get behind the wheel of a car, so you know, DUI and assault charges and stuff, aggravation still apply, but it should be legal for human consumption and for production. If a person wants to grow weed, it's already legal in several states. Federally, still, it's a felony. It's not really enforced at the moment, although there have been attempts to do so. Those charges should be nullified, both state and federal, by the way. That's about all. Peace out.